colors, the sort of colors that she uses will penetrate there and just go where she wants them to go. Silk screen actually uses a screen to go with the screen. No.
Yeah, I mean, you can stretch it, but it's tight. It's slightly traditional way of doing
This, the brush? Well, I don't know about that. I can't, it may be her solution for demonstrations. On the other hand, there may be a real technical reason why she likes it this way. Bill, I want you to tell me about Santa Claus. What's he doing up there?
He's part of the Santa duck house. He's sort of the god of the whole piece. It's really hard to get involved in the kind of thing to discuss him as sort of Santa Claus, but I was working more or less as a kind of god-like form, but not really God in the sense that something that oversees the whole thing, but someone who is up above everything, looking down, and it's kind of a fanciful fantasy kind of thing. Santa Claus, in a sense, in many cases, is a kind of fantasy figure, godlike figure to kids or something like this. So which the kid thing is really kind of what I'm really hung.
The men in the other part, the masks shapes, they don't look quite as jolly.
Yeah, well, this is kind of a, I don't know, maybe a dichotomy in some of the things that I do, because the fantasy kind of thing is there, the fun thing is there, but then I try to get beyond that, but at the same time not maybe it's there, but at the same time not try to make the thing as evident, something which is maybe not so nice and not so fun. But I'm not trying, for example, to get involved in a sociological kind of thing of, I don't want to put anything down. That kind of thing is being done by so many people, and I check a newspaper, that's bad enough, and so I don't want to go down in the studio and get involved in reproducing, the accounts on the the front page.
So this is really, you're not thinking of this as social comment?
No, it's in fact, if anything else, it's just the opposite. I don't want to let that get involved at all, but I think sometimes you can't help it. It comes in.
What about the Good Shepherd there?
Oh, that's partly a technical thing too. I've been working with the cast ideas and casting single units and applying these single units to a basic form, these totem or cone shapes. And as I started to move away from the color and got more involved in the form, I was constantly involved with too much color and too much form, and the form became so baroque, and then the color became baroque, and then the image just began to become more or less a mess. And this was an attempt, so I started to move away from the color altogether and just started working with the white clay, which then opened up a whole new possibility, because I could work with almost just the idea of the pure form and put these things together, not at all get involved with color. So I had pretty much solved this section through here on earlier pieces. I knew what I was doing with the faces, with the duck inside and so forth. But then from this point down, where the thing splits, from here down became a problem. I was working primarily with the black lettering on some of these on the white surface, and then I decided that maybe I could try to work this kind of thing, the flowers and so forth, the more baroque, fanciful kind of thing, into this surface down here. And I've been running around. It's a long story, I guess. I've been running around to craft shops and having various craft shops do casting for me, this kind of thing.
Oh, you mean serious, not sales shops. You mean real industrial?
No, the
craft
real
shops?
hobby shops. That's
Oh,
part
I
of the.
see.
No,
Oh.
this is what's really kind of nice. Is that, in fact, in Brockport there's a craft shop, and I think the name of it's Laurie's Ceramic Shop or something like this, and the place is loaded with molds. And I always used to put these people down, and I think everyone did for a while. And then I started getting involved making my own molds, and then decided that I would that possibly went back to this shop, I think, to buy some glaze or something, and then all of a sudden discovered this unbelievable world of molds, which was just really bad stuff, but at the same time bad in the sense that it was good for my image. And so then I started ordering from this woman, and it worked out very well, because I would tell her I wanted this, this, and this, and then she would make them for me, and sometimes she'd leave them wet, and I would go back and put them together. And in this case, what I had her do was, I saw these beer steins, they come in ungodly sizes, monsters, and it seemed that this thing would fit beautifully into the form. So then I bought the beer steins, took them home, bisque fired them, and then made my own press molds from them. So now I can run off a series, and I have them in this size, and I have some smaller ones, which I hopefully will be able to fit into this section maybe later on.
You ever made your own mugs? Take off of these beer things?
No, this is the problem that I find with using the commercial things, is that you're treading on, I don't know, at least I feel you're treading on very thin ground, because between getting them, transforming them so that they work for me, but they may not, and transforming them to the point where they don't look like they still exist in the craft shop, or they're made by maybe the little old ladies who that's where they hang out or something like this. So that, like, I think some of the cups I've made, it's very difficult to take the cast form and then put it onto the cup. It works in a sense because by putting it onto the cup, I transform that cast form, so that the frog, for example, doesn't exist just as a cute little frog sitting on a craft shop.
Oh, you make it yours.
Yeah, and I think also one of the things that I've liked to do is where it works well for me is the absence of color, because most of the time these things are colored and so forth, and I don't get involved in that. And so and then another thing is to leave. One of the things I've really liked is I finally found out what a fettling knife is, why they call a fettling knife a fettling knife. I'm supposed to take those little ridges off when they pull a mold apart. So I like to leave the ridges on, because then it still says it was made by a mold and this kind of thing. So that's the mold thing has developed from making my own up to now trying to incorporate my own with some that I can purchase and this kind of thing.
Okay, I just want to go over this piece again. Now, you throw it, basically, do you?
Well, the only part in this particular piece is the section right about here, which is thrown.
And there's the mask-like form. They are from your own mold, or?
This is a mold of Ringo Starr that I used. I think one of my kids had the doll, the short
like
body and the big
old
head.
Ringo.
Right. Well, I had a little problem with the hair. The doll had real hair, so I had to wax it down and so forth to get it to cast all right. And so I've been able to use this, fairly well.
So move right up the piece, if you will. The rest of it is mostly mold.
Yeah, this is just a beer stein which I've used. This, of course, is just the hand-built handles which I've placed in the series. The lettering is just simply commercial underglaze that I apply when the piece is dry in its greenware state, and the heads again, and then I guess probably the thread that holds the whole series together is the duck inside. I don't know how many duck houses I think I've probably done about 150 of these things, and all the time trying to push the thing further. And originally was in raku, and now it's strictly earthenware, which seems to at this point fit my purposes much better. The duck is simply my kids had some of those plastic ducks for the bathtub, and I managed to take one of those, cast it, and then return it. I always return the things. That's part of the thing too. And then into this form here, which, well, this again moves away, I guess, from, almost fits in with maybe the not so happy faces into this kind of thing here, which at the present time I'm not really sure whether this works for me or not. I think maybe on some newer pieces I will take some of these beer stein forms or some other cast forms and work this part of the house or tower. It's a little, I know it's probably not as direct as some of the other things, and it's a point in the piece where you're moving up and you're sure of everything, and then you reach this point you're really not sure what's going on. And I don't know. I think visually I'm satisfied with it, but in terms of the total image, I'm not quite sure. And then the flowers, which was kind of which is one of the few things I ever got from a student, I think. The flowers worked out from a student that I had in my class who was making some pots, and came in one day with these roses all over the thing, and the roses were kind of nice, but in her sense all for the wrong reason. You know, she loved these things, and I tried to explain and used it in a class critique. Tried to use these flowers, tell her why I like them, but at the same time try to get the point across that I'm sure that the reason I liked them was not the reason that she did. And she spent the rest of the semester doing flowers and never really did catch on to the reason. But anyway, I lifted the flowers and worked this onto this global form. And this global form at one time was going to work with a kind of world-like Earth kind of symbol, and then since then it's moved away from that, and that was kind of too obvious, so I didn't want to really pursue that. But at the same time, the flowers, the heaven, the I don't know, the spiritual kind of thing onto with surrounding Santa Claus, and then up to the bird, which simply well, this is where in many cases the thing becomes fragmentary, because it's hard to say why the bird is there, other than the fact that I happen to like the bird there and feel it kind of works.
It does. I think for me it has an air of tremendous flight, and great perching on top of great mountains somehow. Are you not using color at all anymore now?
Yeah, I'm trying to use it, but it's there are so many things, like I have some decals now, and I have some lusters, and have some commercial glazes and some of my own. And the big thing is to try to hold yourself back, because these things are so fantastic by themselves. And like I've got lusters, and I've yet, which I think is really great for me, I've yet to use them. And each time I do a piece, I say, I've got to get those lusters on this piece. And I've been able to hold myself back and say, no, I'm not going to do it, because it's just not going to work. And the same thing with some of the other colors, like the decals. On some of the earlier white ones, I had decals on the bottom, and finally have not completely rejected them, but on the newer things, I'm not going to bother with the decals. I'll probably stick with just the black lettering and leave it like that. But on some boxes and so forth that I'm fooling with, I'm going to have decals on them, and some of the lamps, the animal lamps, and some animals that I'm doing will